Good afternoon, dear students. Today we start the last lecture of this module A on research methodology. And today we will discuss the oral communication of scientific results. This is a list of all the steps that are involved in the research process. And today we will discuss that how it is also important not only to carry out research in a proper way, but also to present them in writing and in oral way, so that the people outside your laboratory know what you have done. So it's very important to also have a good presentation, oral presentation of your work in a different fora. Okay, so communication. What is the communication? Communication is the art and process of creating and sharing ideas. We communicate with our peers or our friends, or for that matter with outside world, and exchange our ideas by several means. When you are writing a paper, that is also a part of communication. You communicate your results to the journal, and the style in which you write the paper speaks about not only the quality of your work, but how effectively you are able to impress upon the peers about the significance of your work. Therefore, it is important to learn, and it is a process which you can improve. It is not that one is a born oral good communicator. It is a practice. You have to practice how to communicate effectively your work. Okay. So effective communication depends upon the richness of those ideas. So first and foremost is that whatever your ideas, there is a message coming on my screen that there is some difference in resolution. I hope you are able to see it properly. So that's why it is very important that you also practice the communication your results to your audience proper way. So communication skills are very important, and one has to learn those skills effectively. So communication skills are the tools we use to remove barriers to effective communication. Everybody, there may be some limitations in communication with everybody, and we have to learn those skills so that we are able to convey what we want to convey to our people whom you are addressing. And for that, if you listen to the people who are experts in communicating, you will learn from them how they practice, like your teachers. Who are the, if you recollect in your schools and colleges, who are the best teachers you had, you will remember that they were the one which had excellent communication abilities. So the skilled communicators get the message through their audience easily, so that the audience can use the instructions accurately to complete the task. So those teachers, whom you remember, and they are a very excellent teacher, how do you rate them as excellent teacher? One of the important parameters you will find, they could explain to you so nicely. So how do you know, they could explain this, they could communicate excellent way, and so you could follow it, what they are telling. In fact, you will come across several people, not only in the academic world, but also in day-to-day life. The lack of proper communication prevents the development of a person professionally as well as personally. If you are not able to communicate with others, then you may find, or one may find that one doesn't, if you are among the friends, how you communicate among your friends. So in the personal life also, it affects if you are not able to communicate properly. And it is not that it is a gifted thing. One can learn and practice. So if you practice it, you will be able to improve your communication skills with time. So whatever work you are doing, you take the opportunities to present your work, maybe in your small group of co-workers or in your department or division or at different fora in conferences, symposia, to make it a point or seize the opportunity to present your work in different platforms. That is the only way you can improve your communication. It's not that on the first day itself you will be able to communicate by reading it theoretically how to communicate. So this lecture is just it gives you ideas, but by attending this lecture alone, one may not be able to communicate effectively. You have to practice, and practice is that keep on presenting your work to the audience. So essentially, there are many barriers to effective communications. And you will see this, in your day-to-day life also. So many people, they don't listen to completely to what you are saying. So what are the problems? First is now, see, there is difference between hearing and listening. So many a times you may be doing some work and you are hearing something else also. At a time, you are hearing two voices. One is like, you are attending the TV and you are attending to a phone call. It depends which one you are giving more attention to. So suppose you are watching your TV and you are talking to your friend on phone, you will find that depending upon who is able to catch your attention, other person will not be able to appreciate what you are saying. So if you are watching TV, your friend whom you are talking on phone will notice that you are not listening to him or her properly. So these are the problems, you will encounter in listening. That means jumping to conclusions. Suppose somebody starts telling, and before that person completes, you start concluding what that person wants to tell you without that person completing the sentence. So that is a problem. So when you are attending, you are listening to your friend or to your teachers, you let them complete first and then you make your statements. Thoughts easily wander. This is a general problem. All of us have some limitations, and so you will find that your mind is processing at a time several thoughts, and so you are not able to concentrate on one problem. So when you are attending to a class, when you are in a class, your mind is occupied with something else. So that can also create problem. You are not able to capture what the teacher is telling. Filter out unimportant parts of a conversation. So if you are not able to filter out unimportant part in a conversation, then also you don't get the essence of the whole discussion. Similarly, premature response before the other person has finished. So many people have this habit of jumping before you finish, that person will start answering you. And it is it's a human problem, and then it can be practiced. If somebody points out to you, you should point out to your friend that this is a problem with you and you have to improve upon it. Then arguing and debating. So it is not you have to always argue. You have to make a point, but at times it depends upon the situation. So if suppose you are not convinced with the other person, if you start arguing, the other person may not listen to you. So like coming to wavelength, matching the wavelength, and then if you bring your point, the person will appreciate your point. So that argument or debating also will be useful if the other person is listening to what you are telling. So these are the points. If you carefully look at these points and try to get rid of them, you will find that you're able to listen properly, you're able to understand properly in your class or to your professor or your friends. Then there are other aspects like fear of offending. Many people don't speak much. They keep quiet. They feel that if they speak something, it might offend the other person. So what are the choice of the proper words also important. So, and that is also sometimes you will find some people are always talking in a negative way. So that becomes a habit. Whereas if a person is always thinking of positive ways, you would like that person. Similarly, lack of knowledge about the topic. So in fact, this is very, very important. Like if you are speaking on a topic and you don't have depth of knowledge, then you will falter in communicating. So first and foremost, you should have a good knowledge of the topic when you are going to address somebody. And at the same time, so then your confidence will build up when you speak about that topic. So your flow also will be maintained. You are knowing what you are speaking. So all those things help in proper communication. So this this is a typical cartoon. That one person is speaking something, but you do not know whether he's listening to your conversation or not. So how to improve the communication? First thing is pay attention. So if you are listening to somebody, you look at the person directly, and if in your mind some distractive thoughts are coming, you put them aside. Like in fact, yoga comes be very handy in concentrating on your topic. So and many a times, you start preparing yourself to answer to that person or to negate that person. So you prepare a rebuttal. Somebody is accusing you. Your mind is working to how to answer, how to rebut that person. So you have to start preparing on that. So listen to the speaker's body language also. So that is why it is in fact we are not in a very good situation because I am only talking to you. Actually, I am talking to my laptop, and I am not getting your feedback by your observing your body language. So when it comes to classroom teaching or your presentation, you pay attention to the audience, whether they are following it up or not. And many a times, you can even change the gears depending upon the body language of your listeners. So when you like in a classroom, you will find if you are nodding to your teacher, expressing that you are listening, then that is a proper gesture to your teacher that yes, you are paying attention to what the teacher is telling. Then at the same time, during the classroom or in the presentation, if you are listening, then you will be providing feedback in between asking questions. And don't give a judgment immediately. Maybe after the presenter had finished and you assimilate what the crux of the whole thing the presenter was meaning, you can give a judgment and then respond appropriately. So your response, should not be knee-jerk or spontaneously. You analyze the statements or whatever matter has been discussed and then respond. So if there is if you take some time in assimilating what has been said and then respond, you will find your response will be appropriate. Otherwise, sometimes you might jump to a conclusion without giving the complete thought to the whole what you want to say. So if you want to have an effective communication, important thing is that, see, like, depending upon whether you are talking to teachers, your students, or young children, or no senior people, there is a difference in the audience. So the subject matter and the depth of knowledge all will be changing. So who is the audience is an important point to note. It could be young students, or it could be research scholars, faculty, science administrators, public or policy makers. So you see here, for example, when we make a plan proposals, for our research work, and you have to present in different platforms. So first you present in your division or in your department. This is what I propose to do. And suppose you are a senior person, then the same thing you have to present in the policy making body of your institute. You will find that the words, the choice of words and the content slightly changes. And if the head of the institute have to present it to the parliamentarians, you will notice the whole style of presentation, the choice of words will change. So that is what is effective communication. You cannot use the same material to communicate to the policymakers and to the scientists in your area. Similarly, among the scientists, you have the students, faculty, and researcher working in particular area you are using. So it changes with the audience. Now, what is the message that you want to communicate to the audience? If you are very clear about it, you will be able to communicate effectively. And in which medium you want to communicate? Suppose if you are you are talking to children in a village, you have to use vernacular medium. But there also, if you are teaching, then if they are not able to follow you, then there is no point teaching in that language. So proper language also very important. You have to, and then also whether you are attending like we are presenting online or in a classroom or different platforms. So that is also very important in what way you should communicate to the audience. So it's an art. Communication is an art, and one can learn it by practicing it. So these three aspects I will elaborate more. Who is the audience? What is the message? What is the medium? So know your audience, tune your presentation according to your audience. And in this, you will notice that the visuals are very useful. Illustration. So if you have too much of text, the audience may get lost in and the reading that whole text. So use some visuals, some illustrations, some figures, some models, and give examples to bring home your point so that they can correlate with what you are trying to convey. Then many a times the audience may know a priori what you want to say. Because if you have a heterogeneous group of audience, some of people are experts, they know what you are going to say. They are much more, sometimes they may be much more knowledgeable than you. And so accordingly, you have to prepare yourself. I mean, if someone asks so hard, it can happen, there sometimes somebody may be knowing everything, and for him or her, it may not be a very great thing. So they may ask you so hard. So it may be offending to you, and it may upsetting you also. So be prepared to answer. So that practice, it will come by practice. You will find some people start sweating, when they first time present in a big conference, you see a lot of senior people sitting, you start sweating. But that is the reaction. How we have a psychological response to that, how we will face this audience. And that will go. This perspiration will go. The more and more you practice, you get confidence in presentation. Similarly, the first address the points which less specialized audience care about. So you talk about general aspects of the subject that you are going to convey, so that you can bring all the audience in one wavelength. So for the less specialized audience, you use a language that they understand what you are going to say, and then the more the experienced people, more informed audience, so that for them you can talk in depth of the subject. So this harmonizing your presentation to suit the interest of the less specialized and the informed audience is an art. So make it like a story. and in simple words. So no jargon in presentations, always use very simple words so that you effectively they are able to understand exactly what you want to convey. Some people you will find they use a very flowery language, lot of English jargon, but their time it will look attractive, But later on, when you try to assimilate what did the person say, sometimes you may feel you may get lost in that. And make it relevant and meaningful to your audience. So, depending upon the audience, how it can interest them. So why they should listen to you. That is an important point. Like, for example, I am discussing with you as now you are attending this course and you are going to start a research career. So it relates to that, how you can improve your presentation. So whatever I am speaking, it is trying to, I aim that I should help you in making good presentations whenever you are presenting your work. Then, this front load the story to keep your audience interested. Like if you listen to sometimes, some in TV channels, you will find you get a trailer, short video, you will see what is going to come. And that trailer is so attractive. You will be glued to the channel to what's going to come because it arouses interest about that particular program. So that is called front loading. And that's an art to how to tell what you are going to tell in the subsequent part of your presentation. And as I mentioned, don't use the jargon. Jargons, are sometimes quite, they may look flowery, they may look good in the beginning, but gradually you will find that the essence of what you want to convey gets lost. So use simple language when you are going to make a scientific presentation. Second aspect was what is the message? First one, what was the audience? Second, what is the message you want to send? And depending upon that message, you have to do some practicing to frame the message, what you are going to say when you are going to make a presentation. So it's important to frame the message in terms that the audience find relatable, meaningful, and accessible. So you have to do a little bit of brain work to frame what you are going to deliver within that short time. So proper usage of words is very useful. Initially, probably one can even remember. You can memorize what you are going to tell. Early part of your career, you are making a presentation. Many research scholars, who are presenting their oral presentation, they will try to remember, mug up the presentation. But gradually, with practice, then you can make extempo. And you listen to the people who are excellent orators. How nicely they keep you mesmerized to their speech. So if you have able to frame your message, what you want to convey, it will help in engaging the audience with a subject or issue, as well as build trust and relationship. So proper choice of statements when you want to convey your point is very, very useful so that you are not wandering in presentation. Now let's come to a little bit of more details about, like, if you are a research scholar or if you are a faculty and making an oral presentation in a conference. So this is what you will be doing. You will introduce the topic in the beginning, that today I am going to display what is that I am going to talk about in today's my lecture. Then discuss the definition of the problem. You give like a preamble, what is the problem on what topic you are going to discuss. And describe the method and technique employed. So if you are going to make a presentation to a conference, you first define the problem, research problem. Then you tell what you did, what techniques you followed. Then you give the technical details like results, present the results, and then conclude what did you get out of this work that you did. So you can make your own presentation, and it depends upon the time, how much time you have at your disposal. It is said that making a 10 minutes presentation is more difficult than a 40 minutes presentation, because you have to condense your presentation in 10 minutes. So if you have 40 minutes, you have all the time. But if you have to have short time, then you have to really choose proper words to bring home your point in that short time. So that's why how much time and what you have to, what the delivery of your speech, is very important. It is rightly said that the success of a presentation lies in making it long enough to cover the topic, but short enough to arouse the curiosity. So it's the optimum. So depending upon the how much time you have to make it. People should be curious to listen to you, but at the same time, you should be able to deliver as much as is possible. So complete the presentation in allotted time. Always, the time, whatever is allotted to you, you must make presentation within that time. Particularly, I have seen in the international conferences, the chairman of the session will stick to the timing. So if you are given 10, 20 minutes, means 20 minutes. So that's a good habit to inculcate, to stick to the timing. Like about even punctuality about attending these lectures also. 4 o'clock means 4 o'clock. That's a good practice to imbibe. So number of slides, many times you'll find that if you have a presentation for 15 minutes, you may have 30, 40 slides. So you cannot do justice to those many slides. So the thumb rule is that whatever time is allotted to you, you prepare half the number of slides. If you have 20 minutes time, you have only 10 slides. For a half an hour or 1 hour lecture, you have maximum 30 slides. So that you have enough time to display a slide and discuss. So otherwise, if you scroll your slides very fast, the audience will not know would not have time to assimilate what you are going to say within that time. So roughly, 2 minutes, at least 2 minutes, you keep the slide on your screen so that the audience can see your presentation. And if you are there, suppose sometimes there is a problem, you are not able to communicate or they don't follow your accent, then they can see what you have written on the slide. Okay, now let us discuss some of the good practices which one can follow in an oral presentation. Now, last slide I said good practice is to have 2 minutes per slide, but here I am telling maximum 1 slide per minute, because sometimes you may have some figures, some photographs. So the photographs you may not require to flash for 2 minutes. So if you have more photographs, then probably you can even have more number of slides. Then last few minutes you can keep for question answer. So make it a presentation so that you finish few minutes before the actual time. Then don't flash too many slides, too many graphs, equations or tables rapidly, so as to squeeze a presentation into its allotted time. Sometimes, we feel obligated to show all our data, and then it gets lost, because if you are scrolling very fast, then the audience will not know, audience will not have time to assimilate what you are telling. In fact, I am going to give you a video. No, the pause when you make a presentation, the pause is very, very important. You have, if you have heard Atal Bihari Vajpayee, he's speaking, the kind of pause he gives, that gives you time to assimilate what he said just now. Don't put too many lines in one slide, maybe maximum 12 lines or 4 figures in a slide. So, this kind of things, when you make slides, very important to make proper slides. Then use large fonts in text so that, whatever is written is visible. Sometimes you have so much of data, so much of text, you try to reduce the font size to bring too much of text in your slides. Avoid lengthy tables of numerical data and limit equations to those for which the terms can be properly defined. So whatever you are writing on the slides, in the PPT, everything should be clear and you should be able to defend them, be able to explain to them. Audience needs time to interpret the data that you present. So you give them time to assimilate. While you are very familiar with the data displayed, audience is not. So you have prepared your talk for quite some time. but audience does not know what was your motivation, what was your presence. So that's why it is important that you give enough time to audience to assimilate what you have written. And when if you are showing a graph, describe the axis, abscissa, coordinates, units, and the legend for each curve. So you don't just show and change the figure slide. So give explanation for everything. Other practices include, while displaying an illustration, tell the audience what they should look for. Because many times you may be showing a big diagram, is some model, and all of it may not be useful to the audience. So you point out what they should look for in order to grasp the point you are trying to make. It's very important to focus on ask to lead the audience to what you want to convey. Then sometimes it helps to repeat the statements. Repetitive statements help ensure the facts are understood by the audience. So that emphasizing. In fact, one of the important things is also voice modulation. It's a monotonous voice, sometimes distracts, It becomes like a background. So ups and downs in the voice, sometimes they keep the audience interested in what you are going to say. Start the talk with introduction, end with conclusion or summary. Always, in fact, little bit of introduction in the beginning, what you are going to tell, and include only that much information or data which can be properly explained in the allotted time. Sometimes we have a soft corner for our topic and we want to add as much as information as we can. And in the process, it becomes cluttered. So you just show that much information which you can explain nicely in that allotted time. Repeat any questions that are posed to you. Suppose some audience has asked a question to you. You repeat that so that everybody in the audience understand what you are going to answer, to which question you are answering. And a question regarding requiring lengthy reply can be postponed to coffee break. So sometimes, it may be too long a reply you are going to give. You can say that you can discuss during the coffee time. So I just give you one couple of examples of, how to make slides. And so that, when I was telling about you spend 2 to 3 minutes to discuss a slide, this is a classic example of that. So like we are discussing the production of radioisotopes in India. So the whole process of production of radioisotopes in the reactor. So you first describe the reactors, what are the reactors that are used for isotope production. Like you have the Cyrus reactor here, then you have the Dhruva reactor here in the Trombe. And then you say that right now the Dhruva reactor is the workhorse of radioisotope production in the country. And the inside of the Dhruva reactor is shown here. So this is the reactor calendria. Inside this you have the reactor, and so there will be a moderator in the reactor which will thermalize the neutrons, and there will be positions inside the reactor where you place our samples which you irradiate with neutrons, and these are the outside facilities for like neutron scattering. If you want to do neutron scattering experiment, then you have to take the neutron beam out of the reactor, and there are single crystals and goniometers to use to rotate the sample in XYZ direction and to do the neutron diffraction studies. So there are several facilities outside the reactor core, and inside the reactor core you have positions to keep the samples properly sealed in aluminum can or stainless steel can, where you can keep them even for hours to even sometimes days together. You can keep, depending upon the half-life of radioisotope, you can irradiate a particular sample. So after irradiating the sample, you cool them, you reduce the decay. So short-lived ones you are decay, they called cooling time, and then you can bring this irradiated cans to the isotope processing laboratory. In this processing laboratory, since the activity is very high, radioisotopes give a lot of radiation dose. So you process them in the hot cells, and these are the hot cells. They are the window having lead glass, Lead glass is used because the lead will shield the source. The gamma ray will not be able to reach the operating personnel. And these are the master slave manipulators which we use to handle the radioisotope inside the hot cell. So you can cut and dissolve. All the operations, radiochemical operations are done in shielded hot cells with the viewing window of lead glass. And after that, you can, after all the operations, then you can dispense them in the proper vials, which are then sent to BRIT, the Board of Radiation Isotope Technology, for supplying to the users. So this is a sequence of steps, taken in radioisotope production in the country. So that is kind of, this kind of slides, you can, this is an example of making a slide. Similarly, this is another example, like, don't worry about, the basic content of this slide. Like this is a slide to explain that nuclear forensic analysis. Forensic analysis means you are trying to, find out the source, origin of a particular material which has been uh, interdicted. So you found some nuclear material in some public place and you want to know who was the owner of this, or if somebody stole it from a nuclear facility, what was the intention. So you do an analysis of this. You try to find out the source. Like these are the uranium oxide fuel pellets of different dimensions. So the different countries have different dimensions of the fuel, and if you have the database of the dimensions of different countries, you can find out which country this fuel belongs to. And then, so the data contain the dimensions, diameter, length, central hole. There are holes in some of the fuels pellets. Then there could be some marking on the fuel that will help you identify the origin. Then if you analyze it later on for its 235 uranium content, you know which countries have this kind of enrichment. You do isotopic composition that help you. Then you find out some impurities. If you do a destructive analysis, then you can tell which are the, depending upon the impurities also you can find out the source of a particular consignment and the age, how old this sample is. So there are methods to find the age when this sample was prepared. So a nuclear forensic analysis, you can explain it in nicely using this slide, how people uh, carry out the nuclear forensic analysis of interdicted materials. Now I will give you so this is a video which I have to show you. Let me see whether I can, it looks.
Fruit of an action can never fruit of an action can never come before the action, nor at the time of doing the action. But the result of an action can come only on a future period of time. Karma is always done in the present. It cannot be done now in the past, nor can it be done now for the in future. Every action can be done only now, here. But the result of what we are doing today will come and present itself to us in some future time, maybe one split second after the action, or after 10 or 30 or 100 years after. But the karma pattern, the result of an act, belongs to the future. So to be anxious for the result is that you are wasting your energies in the future periods of time. Present activity has not got the entire mental vitality. The mind is dissipated. Think. And the majority of us are working today nervous and excited by our fears of the future. Not to dissipate our mind with the worries and anxieties of the future, but to bring it out in a shut to the peace of Job that you are doing today is to assure to ourselves
Video is getting lag.
of success
Lag.
in the future period.
It's not coming time. Come properly now.
Fruit of an action can never come before the action, nor at the time of doing the action. But the result of an action can come only on a future period of time. Karma is always done in the present. It cannot be done now in the past, nor can it be done now in future. Every action can be done only now, here. But the result of what we are doing today will come and present itself to us in some future time, maybe one split second after the action, or after 10 or 30 or 100 years after. But the karma bhala, the result of an action, belongs to the future. Now, to be anxious for the result is that you are wasting your energies in the future periods of time. Present activity has not got the entire mental vitality. The mind is dissipated. Think. And the majority of us are working today nervous and excited by our fears of the future. Not to dissipate our mind with the worries and anxieties of the future, but to bring it out in a shut to the peace of Job that you are doing today is to assure to ourselves of success in the future periods of time. So karma bhala tyaga is a logical, intelligent technique by which I conserve my mental vitality, not allow it to dissipate in the unknown future period, and I bring it focused on to the piece of work that I am doing now, so that my present work becomes efficient, competent. Efficient and competent work must yield nothing but blessings of success in future periods of time. So, karmanyeva adhikaraste. In fact, Arjuna, now that you are standing on the field of work, work alone is what is allotted to you. You put forth your effort. Never shall you allow your mind to be dissipated about the result of the action which is yet to come in future. Future is a closed book for us. Don't waste your time worrying over what will happen. Nothing illogical ever happens. Therefore, if the present action of mine is efficient and competent, if I can really cope up with the present situation, the future will be my harvest in success. But if I do my work present with inefficiency and competency, because my mental vitality is getting dissipated in the outer world, about the future, be assured that half-hearted, incompetent work can yield you nothing but the sorrows of failure. Thus, throughout the Bhagavad Gita, whenever he says, without anxiety for the fruits of action, the rewards of action, it is only explaining a technique that can guarantee you success in action. Therefore, Karma Yoga is the secret of action. How activities can be undertaken by everybody, and the success of your goals shall be assured if your mental vitality are not dissipated into the future. So, please let it not be bhaleshu kadachana. Don't waste your energy in your anxiety for the fruits of action. Ma karma bhalahetur bhu. May you never become merely producers of the reward or the result, mere wage earners. I am working, so I will get the wages. So for the wages, I am working. You never will gloriously succeed in anything. All that you get is only that specified wages. Ma karma bhalahetur bhu mate sangostva karmani. Swamiji, these are all very difficult, so I don't work hereafter. May you not sit back saying that I am not going to do any activity at all, because at this moment your mind is full of the vasanas. The vasana pressure is there. Therefore action you will have to take. And when the actions are if you refuse to take any actions, the existing vasanas will be pressurizing you. You will know no peace of mind. The mind will get rotten until at last you get into a tamasic mood of inertia. So yours is the right to do the right work as honestly and sincerely as possible. While thus working, see that your mind is not dissipated into the fields of the unknown future, the anxieties for the fruits of it. Don't be merely a producer of the results. Then you gain only that. But the personality improvement is not taking place. May you never get attached thereby to non-activity, into mere idleness. That also will rot your existing brightness and brilliancy of inner personality.
Okay, so that was, if you want to really improve the art of communication, listen to Swami Chinmayananda, who is an excellent orator, and there are many such videos on YouTube to help us improve our skills of communication. As I mentioned, it is a practice. Okay, so now let's move forward. Suppose you are a research scholar and presenting your work in a conference. Typically, you may be given a time of about 10 minutes. And since you are beginning your career, you work audience, in conferences, so there will be many faculty, so they will know about your topic. So you have to give the minute details of, in your presentation, what did you want to understand in your particular work that you have done, how others have approached the problem or similar problems. So it is a typical like oral presentation of a research scholar in a conference. So you must tell about literature, whenever you present your work, how others have done, what they have done. So that helps you in comparing your work with the literature work. Then how did you do the experimental work and the calculation? So give the details of that. And what was the outcome? What was the result of your experimentation? And what does that result convey? What did you understand out of that? So if you use these simple questions and then you answer them in your presentation, you bring home the point in your presentation. The audience will appreciate whatever work you have done in a very simple language, giving illustrations, the photographs, the graphs, the tables of your data. Then as you grow senior, then you may be invited, like after your PhD or a postdoc or your thesis presentation, you may be given a 40 minutes time to present your thesis work, or like your the viva voce, when you are defending your thesis, typically 40 minutes presentation. And that at that time probably you don't have, of course this is for the people who are giving invited talks, not for your thesis defense. In the thesis defense you have to necessarily go for details of your work. But this is for the invited talk, when you are giving a broad overview of a topic, how that work has evolved over a period of time. So there you give the highlights of the progress of development of the topic over the years. What are the techniques people have been using, different scientists, which techniques they have employed to solve this, to study this phenomena, and what is the current understanding of the subject at this point, so that you take the help from literature to get an overview, to get an idea what is the current understanding, and then you give your own contribution in this area, what you have added with your publication, some of the results, and what are the challenges in this area for the future. So for the students, one can give roadmap for the future for the young students, what problems they can tackle in this area. So this is a typical about 40 minutes, maybe 30, 40 slides or 20, 30 slides. This is for the senior members. Okay, coming to the end of my presentation, like, I was telling in the beginning, Vidyarthi, Panch Lakshanam, Kagacheshta, Vako Dhyanam, Swanindra, Tatheva cha, Alpahari, Grahatyagi, Vidyarthi Panchalakshanam. Similarly, you have the attributes of a research scholar. I have tried to list some of them. So self-confidence, whatever you do, if you know the subject, you will have confidence. Dedication is very important. Just now, Swami Chinmayananda ji spoke about Karma Yoga. Think about the present. Concentration on the problem that you are handling. Don't handle too many problems at a time, and go vertically deep rather than horizontally spread. In the research career, focus on one problem and solve it and understand the subject fully. Determination, very important. Don't give it up. Even if you fail, continue working. Analytical mind, scientific discipline. So there are some ethics that one has to follow. Dr. Siriguri will be talking about the ethics, global outlook. So you are working on a topic, but it has got a lot of implications for in many areas. So that outlook is important. Innovative approach. Think about the new ways to solve the problem. Originality. So whatever idea you are working on should be original. Intellectual curiosity. Right? Ask questions among your peers so that you get new ideas. Freedom from obsession of clock and calendar. Very, very important. Many a times, we work 10 to 6 in laboratories, particularly in national laboratories, you will find time. Sometimes it may not be in your control. You may have to follow the timings, but then it does not stop in that 10 to 6. So your mind is always fertile and active. Even at home, you are working, trying to solve the problem in your mind, in your unconscious mind, also working to solve the problem. Flexibility, very, very important. Intelligence, passion for knowledge, and lastly, the communication skills that we discussed today. So all this, if you want to have further information about whatever I discussed today, these are the books which you can follow. Scientific writing and agriculture in agriculture, and resources by P.K. Ramachandran Nair, Vimala D. Nair, Springer, Brown University Science Center's Quick Guide to Science Communication, and Developing Communication Skills by Linda Mendoza. So some of the topics, I thought we can refer to them. It is a continuous process to improve your communication skills. So whoever is keen to improve communication, look for materials, listen to the videos and audios of who are exponents of communication. So that's all I had to say. If you have any questions, you can ask me. I hope you have written down your name and affiliation in the chat box to register your attendance. Yes, there is a question here. How to remember lot of information while presenting a slide? Yes, a very good question. So it is not that see when you are making a slide, so you have something in your mind, you want to speak this. So suppose you make a diagram. That diagram, you know about the diagram, some model. Now, how does that model work? That is, you have done the work. So if you have done the work yourself, you know the diagram in and out. So you flash the diagram, or suppose it's a table or a figure, you flash it, and then you have to make your own subject to deliver. So you don't have to bug up what you will speak. In the beginning, as you are starting your work, You may not know the minute details of the subject. So that time, it is still, I would say, mugging up of that subject will not help you, because if you forget, then you will have a loss sorry figure. So always give that presentation. Of course, nowadays there are, in the slide, you have some section where you can read it, but the audience will not read it. So like I can have in my laptop notes, slide notes. That notes I can see, but you cannot see. There are ways. So this is probably one way of remembering. So normally, what you when you make a presentation, you write bullets. So that bullet guide you the sequence of your topics that you have to present. But in the bullet you have to expand, that you have to make your own sentences to explain. You can use the notes in the slide mode sometimes. Whether we will get any assignment, yes, I am coming to that. So Wednesday, I'll be giving you assignments. Coming Wednesday, that day has been kept for assignment. So same time, 4 to 5, I will be attending. I will be discussing with you. So you do attend that lecture. It will be, I will discuss the assignment. I have prepared some assignment, which then we can discuss, and you can ask me questions based on, suppose you have some doubts. So that day we will discuss. I have made an assignment set, and you will discuss the details on 16th Wednesday, 4 o'clock. Any other question or query? So do listen to particularly, Swami Chinmayananda. His lectures are very, not only that, I'm not always asking to follow whatever he says, but you learn the style of his presentation. So that style, if you listen to such presentations, you will imbibe those traits of a good speaker. So you see his hand coordination, his gestures. In fact, I have seen his presentations on a podium. From the podium, this is a short clip. There are long lectures by Swami Chinmayananda, where he, after every 5 minutes, he will cut a joke. He will, so in a humorous way, he makes something so that you laugh, and you can, suppose you have got distracted, he will bring it back to you to the topic of discussion. So they are also very important tools to keep the audience focused on what you want to convey. So the cracking jokes, anecdotes, in between anecdotes, some stories about the people, that is very useful in keeping the audience focused to what you are going to convey. Okay, so it looks there are no further questions. We'll meet on Wednesday and discuss the assignments. Okay, bye for now, and thank you. All the best. Okay, there is one more question. Is there